So, hello, my name is Terence Spivey. So I want to explain what my role is. I'm a trustee and a vice chairperson for Hearing Loss Cornwall. That's HLC for short. I'm also a member of the Deaf Centre here in Camborne. I'm a fundraiser, so I help raise funds for the charity. And we work in allegiance with Hearing Loss Cornwall. So there's an alliance in mind for Hearing Loss Cornwall with Disability Cornwall, and we need funding to support with communication problems, with mental and physical health, and for various different disabilities. Disability Cornwall is the leader of the group, of the alliance. There's 10 of us, as I understand it, in the alliance. Hearing Loss Cornwall has difficulty applying for big funds because we're a small charity. Whereas if we were a big group, we'd have more power and have more recognition from funders so that we could be more successful in our bids. And as an alliance, those funds could be distributed appropriately. So I wanted to talk about sign language and why that's important to deaf people. Many profoundly deaf people don't have good literacy. Sign language is their language of choice and it helps them access so many things. There are, of course, deaf people all over the UK, and all of these deaf people have issues reading English. They make their statements, they act in communities and society through sign language. Hearing Loss Cornwall has been successful in some bids. For example, Deaf for Deaf, that's a counselling service direct for deaf people. Hearing Loss Cornwall have also obtained funds to help people who are having issues paying their bills due to the cost of living crisis. And HLC has been very helpful in this. So I want to explain what the issue is for deaf people in Cornwall. Everything is online these days. Things are done by Zoom. They're not done face to face, whereas deaf people need to have an interpreter with them as well, and it's really difficult at the moment trying to book a sign language interpreter. Interpreters have to travel quite a lot, and it takes a long time to qualify as an interpreter. Hearing Loss Cornwall applied for some funding so that they could provide iPads and training on those iPads for the deaf community so they can access remote meetings. The funding has also helped to train medical professionals on how to use Zoom with a sign language interpreter for a deaf person. This has helped to pay, the funding has helped to pay for some equipment as well. And it's also helped to pay for the sign video service. So that helps if there's no face-to-face interpreter. Hearing Loss Cornwall also have funds to provide advocacy service for deaf people who need support, who need someone to speak on their behalf. There's also the issue that many deaf people have problems with earwax. Unfortunately, there's no service for that in Cornwall that will pay for British Sign Language interpreters. So if a deaf person goes into a clinic to have their wax removed, how can they communicate? It's really difficult for them. Maybe they have to write things down, maybe they have to fill in a consent form about their medication and their other health problems, but they're not going to understand that form in written English. We're hoping that funding will help us deliver deaf awareness training, free deaf awareness training, because many people think, oh lovely, we'd love deaf awareness training, but they don't have the money to pay for it. If we are successful in a bid for funding for that, then we could provide deaf awareness training. HLC is the only charity in Cornwall for deaf and hard of hearing people. If we don't raise money, then we're not going to succeed as a charity. The Deaf Centre in Camborne really has a hands-on approach to fighting for money in order to keep ourselves going, but it's not easy. We need the right people to support us with fundraising here. Many deaf people are vulnerable. They have no access, for example, to the Deaf Centre. For example, this centre in Camborne is the only deaf centre in Cornwall, so think about how far people have to drive. In a rural community, in a rural county, people sometimes drive for many miles to get here. And then there's the people from North Cornwall, Liscard for example, Saltash. They might go to Plymouth Deaf Club. But we are the only centre down in the south of the county. We have no social worker to help deaf people at all. If you think about deaf people in Weybridge or St Austell, they're quite isolated and they don't have any support in those areas. Today, here at the Deaf Centre, we have an event that happens every second Wednesday of the month, and that is we have a lunch club, and that's where deaf people can get together, have a meal together, sign away, chat in sign language, and talk about what's happened to them over the last couple of weeks. We have people who've come here from Camborne, obviously, but there's also people from Penzance, from St Austell, St Just, many different places. And this is the place that deaf people can get together and meet. The third Saturday of every month we have bingo here at the centre. There aren't so many people that come now because travel is an issue.